today. The title of my message, if you like to title messages, is "The Battle Isn't About Me." The battle isn't about me. So with that, let's get into the Word. I'm going to be reading from Exodus 17, verses 8 through 15. And if you'll just stand with me for the reading of God's Word, please. It's Exodus 17, 8 through 15. And if you don't have your Bibles, it is right there on the screen for you. The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some of our men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands." So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone, they put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady till sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write this on a scroll with something to be remembered, and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven." Moses built an altar and called it "The Lord is my banner." He said, "For hands were lifted up to the throne of the Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation to generation." And may God add a blessing to the reading of His Word. So I know we just read it, but I like to just kind of paint a picture of what's going on. Sometimes we can read some verses in the Bible, and it kind of gets jumbled and a little bit confusing sometimes. So I'm just kind of going to give you a little bit of picture of what's happening here. So see, the Amalekites were warriors, okay? But they were also the enemy of God's people. They were the enemy of the Israelites, which were God's people. And they decided that they were going to attack the Israelites for pretty much no reason. They would attack people, they would take their loot, they killed just for fun, basically. And so they were the enemy. So they decided that they were going to attack God's people. And so what Moses did, Moses was in charge, and he told Joshua, "You need to choose some men and go fight. You need to fight the enemy." He said, "You need to choose the men and go fight." And he said, "You're going to go fight. Joshua's going to be the leader in the battle." And Moses said, "I'm going to go to the top of the hill nearby." And he goes to the top of the hill, and to the top of the hill, he takes with him the staff of God. He takes with him the staff of God. And with him also, he takes his brother Aaron, and he takes Hur with him. And they go up to the top of the hill. And so while they're at the top of the hill, and during the battle where Joshua is fighting with the Israelites, the Amalekites that are warriors and hard to defeat. So it says, the word says that when Moses raises the staff, when he raises the staff of God in the air, when he raises it in the air, it says the Israelites are winning. They're winning. They're winning the battle. And then it says when he lowers the staff, they lose. And the Amalekites are winning. So to me, it just seems like a no-brainer, right? He's at the top of the hill. When he raises the staff, they win. When he lowers the staff, they lose. So what are you going to do? You're going to raise the staff. It seems like the logical thing to do. That just seems easy to me. Okay, so what we need to do during the battle is that we just need to raise the staff. And then God's people win. They win against the enemy. But see, what the Word says is that seems like a pretty good deal. But the Word says that Moses' hands grew tired. They grew tired. How many people know that typically a battle lasts longer than 5 minutes? Typically, a battle might last longer than a day. Typically, a battle might you are in the middle of a battle and you're doing something, well, they're in the middle of the battle and he's raising the staff. The word says that he grew tired. He was tired. And so what was happening is, when he grew tired, what did he have to do? Well, the staff came down. He needed a rest. He needed to rest his arms. He had to bring his arms down. So it said that he grew tired. But then what it says is that Aaron and Hur were up on the hill with him, and it said that so he was growing tired. He had to put his hands down. So Aaron and Hur were right up there with him. So they pulled a stone over, and they said, okay, Moses, sit here, okay? So he sits on the stone, and not only did they just allow him to sit, Aaron stands on one side of Moses, and then Hur stands on the other side of Moses, and the word says that they held up his hands so they became steady. So they became steady. So see, there's a lot of valuable lessons going on here just from this small part of Scripture, and I'm going to talk about just a few today. Okay? So first I want to look at Moses. I want to look at Moses. Hebrews 3:5 says about Moses was faithful in all of God's house.
Amen.
He was bearing witness to what would be spoken by God in the future. Moses was a faithful servant of God. See, he was chosen to do a divine work, and God used him in many areas, right, for many years. And from a baby, God used Moses. From a baby, God had a plan for Moses. He was a divine servant. But here it says that even though Moses was a divine servant and he was chosen by God, in the Word it said that he grew weary. He grew weary and he grew tired. And I don't know about you, but how many servants of God do we have in the house today that have ever been weary? Have you ever been tired? Have you ever been exhausted? Look at your neighbor and say, have you ever been tired? Right, you're probably tired right now. Wish I would hurry up. Some of us are. So he was weary. So we've all been there. We've all been tired. We've all been weak. We've all felt like I can't do it anymore. I don't know. I can't hold my hands up any longer. But see, the awesome thing about it is that Aaron and Hur were with Moses on the hill. Hallelujah. They were with them on the hill. So it wasn't unusual that Aaron was with Moses because they were brothers. He spoke out for him on many occasions. We know Moses had a little bit of a speech impediment, so he was his speaker. He traveled with Moses. They did a lot together. They were brothers. They were siblings. So it wasn't odd that he was on the hill with him. But then we also have Hur, and the word says that he was with him. And the thing about Hur is that this was one of the very few times in the Bible that he's even mentioned. This man who played such an intricate and valuable role in defeating an army and holding up Moses and holding his hands up to hold the staff was only mentioned just a few times. But see, what I know is that God knew that Moses was going to need some assistance. He knew that Moses was going to need some help. He knew that because Moses is human and Moses is imperfect, that he was going to grow weary when he was up on that hill while he was holding up the staff. And he knew that the battle was going to last longer than what maybe Moses could stand to hold the staff. And so what happened was that God sent Hur, and he sent Aaron to be with Moses because he knew he would need a helpmate. And so what I know is that God will send people to you to lift you up, to help you, because he knows what you need in your time of need. And just like he appointed Aaron, and just like he appointed Hur to be there to help Moses, he will send a person or persons to help you win the battle. He will send someone to help you hold your hands up and hold the staff high to win the battle. See, we don't have to do it alone. We think so many times that we have to do things on our own. And I am too. Very much guilty of that. I'm very independent. I like to do things on my own. Mostly because then they get done right. I'm just saying, no. I'm just kidding. So, not heal. He was already serving God. See, this was the Moses who confronted Pharaoh. This was the Moses who led the Israelites. This was the Moses who God had given the literal 10 commandments to. But it says that even though he was this faithful servant and God obviously trusted him, he still grew weary. We are allowed to grow weary. It's okay. And see, sometimes we feel like we have to have it all together all the time. And you would say, oh, look at me and look how strong I am and I can get through this. But everyone grows weary. And so we need servants for Christ that are like Moses, who will raise their staff in the middle of the battle, even when they're tired and even when they're weak. See, it said that he grew weary, but he still raised his staff. Now, you may need someone to lift you up. You may need someone on each side of you to help raise your hands to raise the staff. But the important thing is that the staff is raised and you are giving the battle to God. That's what we need to remember today. Because see, that's where the victory lies. The victory lies in the staff. When the staff was raised, the Israelites were winning. God's people were in control, right? And then when the staff was lowered, they began to lose. So you might be like Moses today, and you could be in the middle of the battle. You could feel like that everything is on you. Think about the pressure of Moses. I mean, you've got thousands of men who are fighting, and these are God's people. And he is on top of a mountain with his staff raised. And the minute he drops his arms, God's people began to lose.
Yep.
And so, okay, I'm going to take a rest. I got to put it back up. I've got to raise the banner. I've got to raise the staff. We feel like that. We feel like that if we don't do everything just like we're supposed to be doing, and just if we don't do this and this and this and this, that everything around us is going to just fall to pieces and crumble. But what's awesome is that Moses had Aaron and Hur there. God was with him, but he also appointed people to be there with him to help steady his hands during the battle. Moses didn't have to do it by himself. He was a good and faithful man. He was a faithful man of God. And I'm just going to be honest with you right now. I consider myself a faithful woman of God. But God spoke to me and said, you do not have to do this by yourself. I'm sending you some Aarons. I'm sending you some Hurs. And there's going to be times, Kelly, when you do not feel like raising that banner. You do not feel like raising that staff high and showing the victory. But when you do not, I'm sending you some helpmates. And they're going to steady your hands. And when they do that, you are still going to win because the battle is God's. The victory is in God. So you could be like Moses, and you could be in the middle of the battle, and God is telling you that you do not have to do it alone. Seek Him, and He will send people to help you steady your hand. But also, if you are not in the middle of it, you need to be an Aaron, or you need to be a Hur. If you are not in the middle of a battle right now, then you need to be praying for some people who are. And you need to be encouraging them. And you need to be loving on them. Because I tell you what, if you are not in the middle of the battle right now, you will be. You will be. And you're going to want someone to stand beside you to help steady your hand and raise your banner. So if you are not like Moses right now, and you are not in the middle of a battle, and you do not feel like the world is standing at your feet, then you better be an Aaron, or you better be a Hur, or you better hold somebody's hands up high and encourage them so they can. And I'm so fortunate to have such a strong Aarons and Hurs in my life right now, with all the things that's going on. I don't know how I could do it, and I don't like asking for help, and my family can attest to that. But sometimes, and I'm going to have to learn, that sometimes I'm going to need an Aaron. And I'm going to need others on each side of me, lifting my hands to raise the staff. So I told you that I wanted to look at a couple different pieces of the word. And so that was, so we talked about Moses, and he was a faithful servant, and he was on top of the hill, and he had to raise the staff, and he felt like everything was up to him. But even though he grew weary, God sent him Aaron and her, and he knew that he was going to need that. And God was there, and he sent somebody, and he was able to raise the staff, and they were able to have the victory. But I also want to look at Joshua, because Joshua is an intricate part of this as well. See, I've been studying Joshua, and if you haven't read the book of Joshua, or if you've read it and you haven't looked at it in a while, I recommend it. I've been studying it for months and months. I feel like I can't get out of it. Every time I start to go somewhere else, I just end up back to Joshua. And then, of course, here, Joshua's in the story. But here is where we actually meet Joshua for the first time. But the word says that Moses told Joshua to choose some men to fight. He said to choose some men to fight because they needed to fight the Amalekites. And Joshua fought as he had ordered. Let me tell you about Joshua right now. During this time in his life, Joshua was in training. He was in training. God had great plans for Joshua, but he was in training. Joshua would become Moses' successor. He would become Moses' successor. He was going to be the next leader after Moses. And Joshua would lead the Israelites, God's people, to the promised land. That's Joshua. Okay? But see, not yet. We know a lot about Joshua, but not yet. This was one of the first encounters that we had with Joshua. This is one of the first battles that the Word talks about Joshua. We know that Joshua would go on to win over 30 battles. He would defeat over 30 kings, and he would lead the people to their promised land, which God had ordained. So we know that he did that. But right now, none of that had happened. Right now, this battle was crucial. But Joshua was inexperienced. He was in training. Joshua was looking to Moses because Moses was the leader. Moses was the leader. And Joshua needed to see Moses raise his staff for the victory. Right? See, Moses would pass on the mantle. He would pass on the legacy to Joshua in time. He would pass on the legacy. And I pray that one day I pass on a legacy. I pass on a mantle to my kids. Because it's been generation after generation that have sat in that seat right there. See, it's because of a legacy that I'm standing in the place where I am today. It's because I have women and men in my life that prayed God's plan, His divine plan over my life. And so he was going to pass on the legacy, and I hope to pass on my legacy as well to my kids. See, my kids need to see me lift the staff. They need to see that my strength is from God. They need to see that the battle is God's, and that's the only way that we're going to claim victory. And even though I don't like it, there's going to be days that my kids see that I'm weak. And I am nothing without the strength of God. And there's going to be days that I don't feel like raising the banner. But I'm going to have people beside me who are going to be able to steady my hands and raise the banner with me. So what are my kids seeing? What are your kids seeing? My question is, what is the next generation? What is the next group of Joshua's? He was inexperienced, and boy did he go on to make an impact for the glory of God. What is the next group of Joshua's seeing from God's faithful leaders today? Let me repeat that. What is the next generation? What is the next group of Joshua's? All our young people in the house today. AJ, Aaron Beth, as little as less than 1 year old. What are they seeing from God's faithful servants today? Because when I was in those seats, I had many men and women from this very place. My mother, my grandparents, Linda Roberts, pastor, who taught me in Sunday school because he's that much older than I am. Brenda, Kids Church, Linda. I had people who I could look to, and I saw faithful servants.
Amen.
Amen. Yes.
I was a Joshua then. I was young and I was inexperienced, and God had a plan on my life. And I needed some people to look to see what was going to happen during the battle. And I saw them raise their staffs and praise God and win the battle.
Glory to God. That's right.
So we have an obligation to show the future Joshuas that the battle isn't about us. The battle isn't about us. The battle isn't about Moses. The battle isn't about Aaron. The battle isn't about her. The battle is about raising the staff and allowing God to be victorious. See, we have a generation of young people, a generation of leaders who need to see us raise our staffs in victory. Claim victory. What are they seeing in your storm? What is the next generation of Joshua's seeing during your battle? What does the future generation see when you fight? What are they seeing you doing? What are they watching? Are they watching you fall to your knees in despair? Or are they watching you fall on your knees in prayer? I'm going to ask you again, are they watching you fall to your knees in despair in the middle of a battle? Or are they watching you fall to your knees in prayer and raising your banner for God? See, Joshua needed to see that he could trust God. And he needed to see that God is always in control. The Lord said to Moses in 14, write this on a scroll as something to be remembered and make sure Joshua hears it. See, when you write something down, it's so you can remember it. If I don't write it down, I promise you it's not going to get done. I set alarms in my phone, and I used to be able to just set an alarm and it would go off and it would remind me, oh, I need to do this. I can't even do that anymore. I have to put a label on the alarm so I know what the alarm went off for. I mean, what is wrong with me? Right? I mean, and if I forget, if I'm in a hurry, the alarm will go and it drives them crazy. If my alarm goes off the time, they're like, what are you supposed to be doing now? And so I'll say, I don't know. Look, I have no idea why the alarm's going off. But when you write something down, it's so that you can remember it and bring it back to your remembrance. So it says to write it down on a scroll so you can remember it. Write it down, and you need to make sure that Joshua remembers it, that he sees it, that he hears it, right? Because Joshua is going to need to remember this battle in the future. How many of us know that when we win a battle, we need to remember it the next time we go through the battle? It's easier to look back and say, okay, I've got this, God, I'm going to raise my banner, because during this battle, you got it. During this battle, you won. During this battle, I came through and you made a way. So it says to write it down so Joshua can hear it, and he needed to remember it. And he needed to see the staff of God raised in the air, and that's the way they won the battle. What was so unique about the staff was that the staff was symbolic of a banner. It was God's banner. It says, the Lord is my banner. In 15, it says, Moses built an altar and called it, the Lord is my banner. He said, because hands were lifted up against the throne of the Lord will be a war against the Amalekites from generation to generation. The Lord is my banner. See, banners announce something. They announce something. So when he held that staff up in the air, he may as well just been holding a big fat banner with fluorescent lights that said, victory, baby. Victory is mine. And so when the Amalekites looked up there, all they saw was victory and they say something. One of my very first years of teaching, typically, you go down the halls and teachers have like these little signs, that say, oh, Miss Baker's class, or whatever it might be. And sometimes teachers don't even have it; they just have it on their doors, whatever. Well, not me, because my husband decided he was going to surprise me. And when he does something for me, he does not have to do things. And so he bought this banner. I mean, it was a banner. It was a vinyl banner. It was like, I was like that long. I'm not kidding. I'm like, yeah, it was this long, about that half, okay? And it was beautiful, like in big, huge, beautiful letters. I taught primary then, so it said Miss Baker's class, and these like big print, and then it had like these kids in like the schoolhouse. I mean, it was glorious. I mean, it was good times, right? And I was like, oh, that's a banner, right? And so he got that for me, and I put it outside my door. And it was so funny because, especially on opening night, people come in and they want to know, they're looking for their teachers' classes and things like that. Well, everybody knew where my class was. There was no mistaken about where Miss Baker's class was, okay? And so, because I had the huge banner, there was a couple of teachers that were across the hall. Like I said, I don't think she even had her name out. It was just on her door, that the door was like closed in and you couldn't even really see it, But mine, the big sign was out on the door, so there was no mistaking about where my class was, and this was my class because I had a banner. The banner read Miss Baker's class, and it was visible, and everybody saw it, and they knew what it was. See, the staff was a banner. The staff was a banner that said victory, right? And so that was what was so amazing about the staff. The staff clearly represented that God was in control. The banner was a victory banner. See, there was no wondering. Nobody came down the hall and said, I wonder if that's Miss Baker's class. They knew. And so nobody wondered when they saw the staff raised. Nobody wondered when Moses raised the staff in the air, is there going to be victory? It happened. It was the banner saying victory. God said, I've got this. I'm fighting the battle, and you will receive victory. I'm on your side, right? Teresa, if you'll come to the piano. So what I want to say today is that sometimes the battle I'm facing isn't about me.
Amen.
It isn't about me at all.
Yeah.
Many times when we're going through something, we want to ask God, why? And that's okay. As a mother, my kids ask why. Sometimes I give them a reason, and sometimes I say because I'm mom and I say so. And that's just being honest. And God can send you a word. He can speak to your heart, and He can tell you why.
Amen.
Or sometimes He may just say, be still and know that I'm God. And I've got this. But God spoke to my heart in the current battle that I'm facing. I didn't ask why. I'm going to be really honest with you. There have been times in my Christian walk when things have happened and I've said, God, why? God, why are you doing this? But I haven't. And I haven't asked why. And I didn't ask why. But God spoke to me before I even asked. And He spoke to me and He said, Kelly, this battle isn't about you. This battle isn't about you. And so because of that, I know that my job is to just raise the banner.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
My job right now is to raise the banner of victory. And know that this battle is not mine. And this battle isn't about me. It's not about anything that I've done. It's about that God is using this.
Amen.
God, I pray. Use this battle to touch somebody. And God, let me raise my banner.
Hallelujah.
Let my kids see. Let everybody I come in contact with see, God. The victory is yours. And to raise the banner so I can receive victory because God will win the battle. See, the battle could have been about Moses. It could have been about a faithful servant needing help and asking for help and saying it's okay to need help. Moses was a man of God and he grew weary. The battle could have been about Aaron. It could have been about her, in that God sends us people in a time of need. He knows what we need, and He will send a helpmate to be there. He knew that Moses needed them in the victory. The battle could have been about Joshua. It could have been about the future leader who needed to see God's work. He needed to see the victory. The battle could have been about the Israelites. God's people were untrained and they were unexperienced, and they could have just needed to see that they need to trust God. The battle could have been about the enemy simply seeing that God will prevail and His people will be victorious.
Right.
See, the battle could have been about anything, anybody, whatever. But that's what God spoke to me and said, the battle isn't about you, Kelly. It's about raising the banner. It's about being victorious through me. So no matter who is fighting, all the time, it doesn't matter if it's Aaron or her or Moses or Joshua, it doesn't matter where you are in your battle. If you're not going through a battle right now, you're being an Aaron or her, or it doesn't matter what it is, all the time, the battle is God's. Our job is to simply raise the banner and claim the victory.
Hallelujah.
And God will fight.
Amen.
See, when He was on the hill and He rose the banner, He raised the banner. He raised the banner. He raised the banner. He raised the staff. Victory prevailed. God prevailed. So today, just like we sang earlier, this is how I'm choosing to fight my battles. I'm going to worship, and I'm going to praise, and I'm going to raise my victory, my hands to show victory. And when I don't feel like it, I'm going to ask others to surround me and help me. This is how I'm going to fight my battle. This is how I'm going to raise the banner of victory. This is how I'm going to raise the banner of praise. And this is how I'm going to raise the banner and trust God. I need people, God needs people who are willing to raise your banner.